Okay, my name is Nicholas, and I'm one of the co-founders of Share a Dream. And our mission at Share a Dream is really to give a boost in communication to little-known or small local NGOs all around the world that today do not have a voice, and on a web platform, connect them to people like you and me that might be able to help them increase their impact. The situation in the humanitarian field today is that there's an estimated number. Finished already? The situation in the humanitarian field today is that there's an estimated number of 10 million NGOs in the world. And the big problem here is that other estimates show that only the 1 or 2% of the biggest NGOs concentrate around 80% of all the resources. And this is both financially, in terms of expertise, or in terms of human resource. The problem with that is that leaves thousands or millions of local NGOs at the bottom that may have a great mission or do really hard work, but that often don't have the communication tools they need to actually get known out there. And so people like you and me, we don't know about these projects, meaning we can't really help them. And that's a problem Share Dreams wants to address. So in order to help these NGOs with their communication, what we have to do first is assess or screen for the best or most impactful NGOs out there. So the process we use for that is a process very similar to how you screen startups today. Looking at factors like how many people work there, when were they founded, what was the impact over the last 3 years, where do they want to be in 5 years, how do they want to get there, and how will they measure what their impact is. Now, for all of these factors in the different countries around the world, we're able to select for the most impactful NGOs we then want to help on our platform. Once we've selected them, a team of ours or volunteers goes into the field for a few weeks to actually get to really know that NGO, get to see what their social context is, who are the people working there, what is their mission, what is the problem ahead, what is their solution, but especially what do they need to implement that solution. And while we're in the field, we produce all the communication tools for them. This could be photos, storytelling, and especially video. So we work with filmmakers and local film schools to produce videos for these NGOs, because we think that video today is one of the most powerful tools to get a message across and actually really touch people so they want to help this project. Once we've done all of this, we create a profile for this NGO on our web platform. And this web platform is already online. You can have a look at sharedream.org. There's already 14 NGOs across 6 countries, including Switzerland, on that platform. And as people like you and me, you can go on the platform, scroll for different projects, filter for education, health, or environment, find 1 or 2 projects you're actually passionate about, and then have an impact on that project in many different ways. And with Share a Dream, there's 4 ways in which you can have an impact on that NGO you want to help. The first one, going back to the problem of visibility and communication, is of course sharing that project on social media and with your friends and family. The second concrete way in which you could help that project would be by donating. Each NGO submits to us a financial project, a precise project they want to succeed in. This could be building a clinic, or building a formation center, or paying the scholarship of a student. And you, with 5, 10, 50 francs, can contribute to that project and then get updated in the long term, because it's the NGO that's in charge of its profile on the website and will regularly update you every 1 or 2 months to tell you what happened with the money, is the clinic built yet, have the first patients arrived yet, and so you really feel engaged in that project. The third way in which you could help is by donating your expertise. And you can do this from home. So every one of us has a precise expertise, and very often this NGO has very specific problems and needs specific answer to these problems. So either one of us with the expertise could spend an hour a week helping that NGO from home. So you could be a doctor. We have a project where there's a nurse struggling with difficult cases with patients, and we connected her to a doctor who Skypes her once every week now to help her with that difficult cases. But you could be an accountant working in a company here and helping that NGO an hour a week through our platform for them to do their accountability. The fourth way in which you could help a project would be by more classical volunteering, where you then, with your expertise, actually go into the field for a few weeks, months, or even a year if you want, and help that project with that expertise and transfer your knowledge in the field to those people. Now, those are the 4 ways people like us can have an impact through our platform on these local projects all around the world. Now, in order to increase the impact we can have with NGOs, we also wanted to include the private sector into this whole project. So we work a lot with companies too. And I think for companies, it's becoming more and more important today to be socially or ethically engaged. And especially the young generation is asking their employees to give them time to do something that is socially valuable. But today, it's very difficult for companies to find an easy solution to do that. So what we do for companies is basically a matchmaking tool where we find the perfect project that matches not only their values, but also their expertise in-house. Meaning they can not only donate to that project, but also doing workshops, and with the online volunteering, their employees can actually spend their time helping that NGO from distance or even in the field with their expertise. So that's Share a Dream in a nutshell. Basically, whether you're a company that wants to engage their employees or an individual like you and me, if you want to find a project, a local project around the world that you want to help with your expertise, you can go on the platform and help it in many different ways. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this presentation. I'm going to hang on to the microphone just for a short question. What is the business model behind your Share a Dream project?
Yeah, we're basically, legally, we're a hybrid structure between a nonprofit and a company. The nonprofit takes care of finding the NGOs and of the web platform, working with individuals. And then the company basically sells cause marketing and employee engagement services to the companies you work with. So at the moment, we have 6 corporate clients, 6 companies that work with us and that pay us to find the perfect project for them, and then to make it easy for them, first of all, to donate to that project, and then to engage their employees. So we do specific workshops with the employees where we make them think of specific problems the NGO gave us and make them think of basically solutions for that projects during team building sessions. And that's how we're paid at the moment. And what we're working on a lot at the moment is investing all the money we get from those workshops into building this technological platform, because in the future we want to work as a kind of SaaS model or a subscription-based model where companies would pay a subscription fee so their employees could, for example, spend 1 hour per week on that platform during their working hours to help those NGOs.
Thank you. I think the will is there, that everybody wants to contribute, and specifically the private companies on the social responsibility, but many times they're saying, okay, where do I put my money? So you have a platform like GiveWell, for example, and you have, and it's true that most of the time it's big NGOs. Now, somehow you need a guarantee that what you're putting or what you're investing is going to work. So how do you assess these NGOs, and what type of credibility you have for these private companies that are already financing your projects?
So I guess the first part of that question is the assessment we do at the beginning with the NGOs. So as I said, we try to use an assessment phase very similar to what is done with startups, where we try to select for the NGOs that have the most chance to actually succeed in the future. So factors for that would be since when were they founded, and what have they achieved since we normally take NGOs that are older than 5 years. So that gives us a basis on what we can evaluate, what have they done in the last 5 years, and that then allows us to project on the next years what they will be able to do. So to give you an example, right now we have a team which is in Kenya, and before going to Kenya, we assessed over 40 startups in Kenya, NGOs in Kenya, which then did the online, basically, application form. And from that, we filtered down to around 15 NGOs with who we then had a Skype interview to basically see who they are and get to ask them some questions about their future plans and how they're going to get there. And from those 15, we went down to 7 NGOs we're going to visit in the field. And my team right now is visiting 7 of them, and we're probably going to cover only 4 on the website or on the web platform. So basically, by filtering down that strictly, we're able to select NGOs that we're pretty certain will succeed in the future based on what they've done in the past. And what's very important for us is also their projection in the future. So meaning we ask them for very specific KPIs or M&E systems that allow them to evaluate For example, for a school, how many students are going to get there over the next 2 years, 3 years, and then every year, we can reevaluate. Okay, were these KPIs met? If not, then we can see how we can better meet them in the future. And I think in time, that selection process and that kind of support we give them on the way will also give us the credibility to go back to the companies then and say, well, of these NGOs we worked with in the past, all of these have succeeded really in meeting their KPIs.
I'm just quickly going to challenge you on the selection process in a sense that you say you do it similarly to sourcing startups, but there you don't have a track record of 5 years, you know, to go back and see how they've been doing, but you have to figure out measures and, you know, look at their vision, and yeah, you have other measures like IP and all of that, which you of course don't have. But aren't you afraid you might be missing a lot of very cool, young, dynamic NGOs that don't have a track record?
That's a very good question. I guess we're still juggling a bit with all the different factors we use for evaluation, because we're still at the beginning of the project, and we need to be sure that those companies have a successful experience. At the moment, we focus on NGOs, as I said, over 5 years. But we encountered when we were in South America, for example, one of the first projects we worked with, they're just 2 years old, and they just impressed us that much with what they were doing that we decided to also take them on board. So we still stay a little bit flexible on those parameters, and I think those 5-year, that mark will definitely go down in the future when we become more confident in evaluating those NGOs. But at the moment for us, it's basically really a security. And then also looking at how many people actually work in that NGO. Again, we say we prefer to work with NGOs that have more people working there rather than just one person that works there. Because for us at the moment, it's more security. And there's just so many NGOs out there that there's even enough to help just with those restrictive criteria. And then one day we can open them up if we can.
Okay, thank you very much.